Hello, beautiful soul. Thanks so much for tuning in. I am Astar, and welcome to Source Light Star. Today we are channeling messages from the three realms of creation. So we have the ocean, the earth, and the sky. See which of the three realms of creation you are most drawn to. You will find the timestamps in the description box, and I'm going to be seeing you in your reading. Hello, beautiful star. This is your message if you were drawn to the first card, the Two of Swords, and the realm of the ocean. So the realm of the ocean, that's the realm of the invisible. And it's very beautiful that this card actually depicts the ocean. I didn't choose the cards, Spirit chose the cards. And it's very synchronistic that this card came out for the realm of the ocean. And it's also very interesting that the figure in the Two of Swords is having their eyes blindfolded. So this really tells us that basically the realm of the invisible, that's the realm of the underworld, the realm of the invisible waters. So everything in the universe is water, is life force energy. And all the life force energy comes from the ocean of the underworld. So there are invisible waters, but there are also visible waters. And the visible waters, this is everything that we see with our eyes open. So everything we can perceive and feel and sense and perceive with the senses, that's part of the visible waters. But it all comes from the ocean of the invisible waters. And this is basically the pool where all the life force energy is stored. But the thing is, it doesn't matter if visible or invisible, it all comes from the same source. It all comes from this ocean of energy. But again, this energy can be visible or invisible. And in this card specifically, we are talking about the invisible waters. That's why this figure is having their eyes blindfolded. They can't really see. So we can't really see the underworld. We can't really see where all the energy is coming from. But it is important to know that this ocean is there. So when we look at a plant, for example, or at the tree, or everything in nature, the source of that tree, the source of that expression into creation is actually the realm of pre-creation, the realm of the underworld, the realm of the invisible. So everything that is in creation comes from the invisible spirit ocean. And so today we are bringing through messages from the invisible ocean. Let's see what other messages there are for us. We have the Eight of Coins. We have the Knight of Cups. We have the Chariot. And we have the Seven of Wands. Okay, beautiful. So with the Seven of Wands, and now it's starting to rain. Oh, I love Spirit. With the Seven of Wands, I'm actually strongly being taken to the 7 chakras. I'm also being taken to the 7-headed serpent. So in many mythologies, in many cultures, there is the story of the 7-headed serpent. Or not only the 7-headed serpent, it's also the 7 branches of the menorah. That's basically the symbol of Judaism. But also obviously the 7 chakras, the 7 hermetic principles, 7 being the number of magic, 7 being the number of light expressed in manifestation. So everything that comes from the invisible ocean of spirit energy is being expressed through the magic of number 7. And that's why we have this recurrent symbolism of the number 7 in all the different cultures. So if we want to learn more about spirit, about spirituality, about magic, about mysticism, then it is really about learning about the magic of the number 7, learning about the mystery of number 7, because that really gives us the key of how the universe functions. The number 7 is really helping us understand the structure of the universe, how the universe is being structured, how basically this invisible, unmanifest, undifferentiated life force energy comes from the ocean and it is being structured into form. It is being structured into something tangible. Here with the 8 of coins we are talking about the structuring of this life force energy into something tangible. And again, this energy in the ocean of the invisible realm exists as a potential. It exists as this raw energy that can be formed into anything. But when it exists as a potential, it is invisible. It is like this ocean where our eyes are blindfolded. But through the numbers, not just the number 7, but actually all the numbers, this potential of life force energy is being structured into something that can be perceived and experienced. And this is then basically taking us to all the numbers. The number 1 being oneness, number 2 being duality, 3 the Trinity, number 4 being the 4 elements. So the ocean of the invisible, that's actually like the 0. Because 0 is the potential for everything to be created. But 0 is not complete nothingness. So the great void is not complete nothingness. But it is actually the potential for creation. Because 0 can be turned into anything. 0 can turn into 1 and 2 and all the numbers. And the numbers, they are basically giving structure to this undifferentiated energy. And here I'm really being taken to the structure of the tree of life. So if we are wanting to learn more about the nature of reality, it is very important to study the tree of life. Because the tree of life explains how this life force energy comes from this pool of infinite energy and it is flowing into the number 1 and then the number 2 and the 3 and the 4 and all of creation. So the tree of life is basically explaining how the light of the divine is branching out into the infinite fractalizations of creation. And this wisdom can only be understood or can only be approached through direct experience. Here with the Knight of Cups, I'm really being taken to this figure having the cup on their head. And this is basically talking about being receptive to the light of Source, to the light of the Creator. So when our crown is open and when we become an empty vessel, just like the ocean of nothingness, the ocean of infinite potential, then we can be filled with the light of the Creator. Then we can be filled with this insight or this inspiration, the inspiration in spirit. Spirit can then flow through us and we can have an expression of life, an expression of creation. But it is very important to be in this zero-pointed space. Because if we have already created a structure, if we have already defined our reality, then we cannot really look at life through this pure lens. So there is really this message of emptying our vessel, emptying our mind, becoming this zero-pointed space so that the light of the Creator can flow through and we can get the inspiration, the inspiration of divine wisdom. So when we become a vessel for divine wisdom, then we become the flow. The wisdom is the flow. The wisdom is the experience of creation. Because the essence of wisdom is basically the light of source, the light of spirit, the light from the sky. That's why we hear the airplane now. The perspective from the sky, integrated with the perspective of the earth. And that's why the chariot is showing up here with the two realms, the earth and the sky, the visible and the invisible. And when these two come together, that's the experience of wisdom. That's when we are walking the path. That's when we are on the way being the path, the Tao, the Tao. The Tao, when we are talking about the Tao or the Tao, Tao actually is the ancient Atlantean word for source, basically. So in Atlantis, the essence of creation, that's the Tao or the Tao. So the A being the Alpha, the O being the Omega. So the beginning and the end, the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, and the E or the T being the neutral point in the middle. So here we are really talking about the trinity of creation, of feminine, masculine, and the neutral point in the middle, of proton, electron, and the neutron in the middle, of the right hemisphere, the left hemisphere of the brain, and the hypothalamus in the middle. We are talking about the day and the night and the transcendental oneness beyond all time and space. The sun, the moon, and the star being the jet pillar, the world axis, our center. This is the eye of consciousness, the eye of I am, but also the witnessing eye, the eye that sees, the eye that perceives, the eye of consciousness. When I say I, that's the eye that sees, but also the eye that I am. And we want to move from that level of consciousness where I am the eye of oneness, the eye of source, the eye of the creator. And only when we connect to the center of the eye, the center of the world axis, the jet pillar, the Sushumna Nadi, this is the only way how we can move forward in a balanced way. And this is the only way how we can actually walk the path in a balanced way. And this is what the chariot is talking about. The chariot is also connected to the zodiac sign of Cancer. So all the cards of the major arcana, they are connected to a specific zodiac sign. And the chariot is talking about Cancer. And in ancient Egypt, the symbol of Cancer was actually the scarab. So another symbol for Cancer or scarab is also the symbol of the upraised arms. That's the upraised arms of the Heka. Heka is the ancient Egyptian word for magic. And when our arms are upraised, it means we are raising the jet. We are rising to this realization that we are the eye, that we are the eye of consciousness. When we raise the jet, when we revive this source consciousness, this unity consciousness, then we become a receptive vessel. Then we have our upraised arms. And with the upraised arms, an open crown, we are able to receive the inspiration from Spirit. And this is the essence of the chariot, the essence of the sign of Cancer, or also the symbol of the scarab. This is really the archetype of Osiris, of Shiva. Osiris or Shiva, that's basically the deity of the jet pillar, the Sushumna Nadi. The Sushumna Nadi, in the tradition of Kundalini Yoga, that's the central channel. The channel where the Kundalini energy is rising from the earth to the sky. And on the two sides is the Ida Nadi and the Pingala Nadi. The energy that comes from the invisible into creation, and the energy that is rising from the creation back to the invisible. So everything in creation is a dance of these two forces, of being born with the Alpha and of dying with the Omega, of the beginning and the ending, of the birth into creation and the death back into the silence of the ocean, the silence of the nothingness, of the pre-creation. So, this is our invitation to empty our mind, become an empty vessel, to raise our arms up towards the sky, to open our heart, open our crown, and become receptive for the light of the Creator, so we can move forward, we can walk the path in a balanced way, understanding that everything has a beginning and an ending, everything is being birthed and everything is dying, but in the end of the day, we are the neutral point in the middle. And that's why we are actually unaffected by everything that is happening in creation. Because creation, that's actually the beginning and the end, the duality of feminine and masculine, of sun and moon. But when we connect to the I, the true I, the I of oneness, the I of consciousness, the I of source, the jet pillar, the axis mundi, then we understand that we are actually untouched. And that is our true nature, the I of consciousness, the I of our higher self. That's who we are. I am. I am. That's it. I simply am. And everything that comes after that, that's the story of creation. That's the story of sound, of shape, of movement and form and music, of all the numbers, of all the fractalizations of source light. But in the end, if we go back to the source, if we take all the fractalizations and connect it back to the oneness, we understand that we are the one. We are the one I, the I of consciousness, the witnessing consciousness. And not only the I, we are actually beyond the I. We are actually beyond the consciousness that is witnessing. We are even beyond the great void, which is the nothingness of silence. So our true divine nature, that is something so incomprehensible that it can only be approached with reverence. And that is the greatest mystery. And the doorway to open up to that mystery is actually the absolute silence, connecting to the great void, connecting to the silence, connecting to the ocean of the invisible. And that's why it's so important to surrender to the unknown, surrender to the uncertainty, surrendering to the mystery. Because when we do so, then the magic is opening up to us. And we understand that we are the magic. We understand that we are the divine essence. Beautiful message. So this was the message from the realm of the ocean. If you resonate with the whole topic, definitely stay tuned for the next realm. And if you feel this was your message for today, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope to see you in the next video. And if you feel the calling to go deeper, if you feel the calling to explore the mysteries, to explore the teachings of the Tree of Life, to explore your divine essence, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am happy to be your guide, guiding you through the Tree of Life, guiding you through the mystery, and reconnect with your divine nature, with your divine essence. Much love to you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye. Hello, beautiful star. So this is your message if you felt drawn to the realm of the earth. And it's very beautiful that the circle shows up. So I didn't choose the cards. Spirit chose this card for this realm. And here we are talking about the realm of the earth. And it's so beautiful that the circle shows up, because this is actually reminding me of the symbol of the sun. So the symbol of the sun is basically the circle with the dot in the middle. This is talking about Ra, this is actually talking about the egg of creation, the cosmic egg, the world egg. And we are the nucleus of the egg. We are the core of the egg, but we are also everything that revolves around it. So we can only exist in creation if there is the center and the circumference, if there is the pillar in the middle, the axis, and something that revolves around it. Because if this duality is not here, then it would be the ocean of nothingness. If you come from pile number 1, if there is not this duality of masculine and feminine, of the center and the egg around it, then it is simply the boundless ocean of nothingness, which is the infinite potential of creation. But as soon as there is the I, as soon as there is the witnessing consciousness in the center, as soon as there is the light of the sun, there is an experience. And whatever we experience is basically revolving around us. So we are at the center of the universe at all times. We are at the center of the universe as the witnessing consciousness, because this is the I in the center, the I of I am, the I of awareness, the I of beingness, of presence. And everything that revolves around us, that is basically the experience of creation, the divine feminine energy, the serpent energy that moves in this wave form. The reason why we say that the Kundalini Shakti, the divine feminine, the life force energy, is a serpent, is because it moves like a serpent, up and down, ebb and flow, night and dark, above and below. But it also is this notion of the serpent eating its own tail. And so we are actually in the middle of that. And everything that is in creation is like the serpent eating its own tail. This eternal recurrence of birth and death, night and day, like this endless cycle of creation. But we are actually existing as the sun in the middle, as the light in the middle, that can be unaffected by everything that is going on in creation. But if we forget about our true nature, if we forget that we are actually the witnessing consciousness in the center, then we can be caught up by what is happening with the divine feminine energy. Then we can be caught up by the illusion of creation. So our nature is the I in the middle, the dot in the middle. But that dot can only exist as such. That consciousness can only exist, like we can only have an experience, if there is something around us to experience. Because if the center is not there, then everything is dark, then there is no light. And if it's only the center, then there is no energy to bring it to life. So that's why everything in creation has to exist in this duality, the duality of feminine and masculine, but we are actually the neutral point in the middle. So the realm of the earth, that is actually the realm of the middle earth, or Midgard, the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Life, the garden where we are centered in source consciousness, and from that center we can have the perspective of above and below. We can have the experience of the unconscious and the subconscious, but also the conscious. That's why we are awake and aware in the realm of creation, but when we sleep we also move into the subconscious and the unconscious. And that's why the earth is the realm in the middle, because as creator beings, as stars, as humans, in this vessel, in this realm, we are connected to all the three realms of creation. We are connected to the invisible ocean. We are connected to the physical realm here in creation, in the material realm. But we are also connected to the realm of the sky, the realm of spirit, the realm of the transcendental realm, the realm of the sky, of the birds, of heaven, of the angels. Alright, so let's see which other messages there are from the realm of the earth, the Middle Earth, Midgard. So we have the Eight of Wands, the Three of Swords, two more cards. We have Death, okay. The message is already very, very clear. Last card. There we go. Six of Coins. Alright. So the message coming through with the Three of Swords in the middle is actually that everything which exists in creation, everything that exists in the realm, in the physical realm, in the realm of the earth, has to die. That's why death shows up. Because everything that comes from the invisible and is flowing into creation also has to go back to the invisible. So everything that comes from the realm of pre-creation and is flowing into creation also has to go back to this state of silence, to this state of potential. And that's why the only thing, literally the only thing we have to do in this realm is dying. And there is even this saying, the only thing we really need to do is die. Everything else is an addition. Everything else is nice to have. So we don't really have to do anything except for dying. Because we come from the nothingness. We come from this realm of pre-creation. And we are basically flowing into creation. But the creation, the material realm, the physical realm, that state is only temporary. So we only temporarily exist in creation. Because the truth is, we are actually coming from the silence. We are actually coming from nothingness. Oh la la. The wind is moving things around. So, yes, that's part of the message. So the wind is blowing in this realm. The wind in the sense of the elements. Here we are having senses, and I'm also noticing the background noise is much stronger in this realm. I'm being distracted a little bit. The first pile was super clear, super crisp, and I was like, pure channel, pure information. But now I'm really being distracted by the wind and by the car sounds and by the noises. Like here, in this realm, there is noise. There is the elements. Like here we are having a sensual experience. And this noise, this vibration, is allowing us to have an experience. But this experience can only come through this perceived separation from oneness. This perceived separation from the silence, from our divine nature. But our soul actually chooses to have this experience in order to experience anything. Because again, if there would be not this duality of sun and moon, feminine and masculine, of light and dark, then we would be the transcendental oneness beyond all duality. Then we would be the transcendental oneness beyond creation. But here we have the Three of Swords, the Trinity that is basically piercing our heart. This is again talking about the Tao, the EAO, the I in the middle, the Shushumna Nadi, the jet pillar, the world axis, the central channel, but also the A and the O, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, life and death, past and the future. But our true nature is actually presence. So whenever we are disconnected from the presence, whenever we are disconnected from that I, the witnessing I, the I of consciousness, and we are attached to what has happened in the past, or we are anxious about what will happen in the future, this is what is keeping us in the duality. And this duality is basically the source of suffering, the source of... Actually, this is what is allowing us to have an experience. So there is nothing wrong about it. There is nothing wrong about being in the past or in the future. Because actually the moment we think, the moment we have a feeling of anything, we are not fully present. Because the true presence, the true divine presence, the true divine nature, that is beyond all movement, beyond all thought, all emotions, all sound, all vibration. And that's why the closest we can get to our truth, to our divine nature, is absolute silence, absolute stillness, absolute nothingness. And when we allow ourselves to be in this state of oneness, of silence, this is what is allowing this death to take place. So the death is the dying of everything which is physical, the dying of everything which is temporary, so that we can go back to the silence, to the nothingness, to pre-creation. But at the same time, we also want to embrace our time being here. We also want to embrace this experience of duality, because on some level we have chosen to have this experience. But again, it is very important not to be attached to this experience, because all of this is only temporary. The suffering is only temporary. The pain is temporary, but also the joy is temporary. Nothing truly lasts in this realm, because again, the only thing we really undeniably need to do in this realm is to die. Because again, our true nature is silence, our true nature is nothingness. So we want to allow this death to take place. Collectively, right now, what is happening, we are going through a collective ego death, to a collective death that is allowing us to reconnect with our divine nature. And this is these solar flares, like with the Eight of Wands. I'm really being taken to this energy of this collective awakening, these solar flares and these extreme purging symptoms and everything that's happening, all the pain that is coming up to the surface, all the darkness that is wanting to come up, to be felt and seen and to be released, is coming up so that we can go back to the silence. But again, we want to embrace this experience. It is not about rushing to the end. It is not about transcending this realm. But it is actually about allowing ourselves to be present while creation is unfolding. While everything is happening in this realm of duality, all the good and the bad, all the light and the dark, trying to be as centered as possible, as still as possible. Because when our mind is still, when we are peaceful, then we are really, then we're really peaceful, then we are not really bothered by what is happening in the noise, on the movie of life. But if we get attached to what is happening in the movie of life, and if we actually forget that it's only a movie, then this is what is creating suffering. If we believe the illusion to be true, if we believe the dream to be true, this is what is creating suffering. If we think that the illusion is the truth, but the only truth is actually the transcendental oneness beyond all creation. The ultimate truth is even beyond absolute silence, because that is our divine nature, that is our truth. So, beautiful soul, this was your message for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Much love to you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye. Hello, beautiful star. So, this is your reading if you felt drawn to the realm of the sky. And it is very beautiful that Spirit chose the Judgment card for this realm. And actually, the first thing that I'm noticing is that this figure is veiled. So this is really talking about our ability to pierce behind the veil. So in the earth realm, we as human beings in the material realm, when we meditate or when we dream, we actually have the ability to pierce behind the veil, to connect to the realm of heaven, to connect to the higher dimensions. And this is really taking me to this high priestess energy. We are all high priests. We all have the ability to connect to the higher realms or the celestial realms, the sky, the heavens. And we actually do so every time when we sleep. So every time we enter a heightened state of consciousness, we are basically traveling to the higher realms. So this can happen again in meditation or when we dream. So every realm of creation has a specific frequency. And when we change that frequency, we are basically also changing the dimension that we are tuned into. And here we are really talking about the realm of the sky, the celestial realms, the heavens. And this is a really high vibration. So if we want to connect to the sky, if we want to connect with celestial beings, with star beings, with our star ancestors, all we need to do is basically raise our vibration. And we do that by breathing deeper or by entering a heightened state of consciousness. So, if we want to connect to the realm of the sky, the realm of heaven, all we need to do is raise our vibration, deepening our breath, and basically tuning into this higher expression of spirit. And this is really talking about this idea of the Judgment Day. So when we are exiting this human incarnation, when we are moving beyond the realm of the earth, then we are basically moving to the celestial realms. We are moving to the realm of the sky, the heavens. So here we are really talking about the higher dimensions. That's why we say that angels have wings like birds. And in some cultures, we are actually referring to celestial beings as birds, as the winged ones. So this is really talking about the spirits that exist in these higher dimensions, these higher expressions of spirit. So when we sleep, automatically our breath deepens, and that's why we enter a dream state. And in the dream state, again, we can then travel to the higher dimensions, to the celestial realms, the heavens. But the process actually also happens the other way around. So basically, when we as souls are coming from the higher realms into the earth plane, into the realm of the earth, we are basically passing through the stargates, the constellations. And that's why we are talking about Pleiadian star seeds, Andromedan star seeds, and Sirian star seeds, like the stargate that a soul chose to go through in order to come to the realm of the earth. This is basically what is adding a flavor to our incarnation. And that's why we are talking about all these different types of star seeds. That's why we also have a lot of different zodiac signs, like the stargates that the soul choose to pass through in order to come to the earth. This is basically what is defining our soul's path when we are in the earth plane. But the thing is, actually, part of our soul still exists in the higher realms. So part of our being is still present in the heavens, in the skies, in these celestial realms. And this is actually our multidimensional selves. These are actually our star ancestors. But the thing is, our star ancestors, or the angels, or these celestial beings, they're actually ourselves. They are still part of our being in a way. But we almost have to think about it like a tree. So when we are here on earth, in the physical realm, We are basically like the fruit at the end of the tree. But if we go back a little bit to the branch, then it's a little branch and then a bigger branch and then it connects to the stem. And so the little branch and the bigger branch all the way to the stem, this is basically our soul aspect that exists in a higher dimension. So when we are actually calling upon the guidance of the angels or the guidance of our star ancestors or of the celestial beings, it's actually us, but from a higher dimension, or it's actually us from the future. And that's why if we look at the tree of life, the realm of the sky, it's actually resonating with the future. It actually correlates with the future, because this is basically our future self, or our most evolved self that gives us guidance, but from a higher dimension. So that's why whenever we are asking for guidance to our spirit guides, we're actually connecting, let's say, to the future. But actually it's this space where time and space doesn't really exist, or it's this realm where we are not confined by time and space like we are in the realm of the earth. So with the judgment coming through and this notion of piercing beyond the veil, if we want to connect to the sky, it is really important to understand this notion of tuning into a different channel, tuning into a different frequency. And this is what allows us to open up to a variety of dimensions, of nuances, of past lifetimes, which are actually parallel lifetimes. And these are the heavens, these are the celestial realms. It's basically all the channels that we are not really seeing with our day-to-day consciousness, but we have the ability to tune into these channels when we are in meditation or in a heightened state of consciousness. So, let's see which other messages there are from the realm of the sky, the celestial realms. Let's see what we... Okay. The cards are jumping out. We have the Moon, the Knight of Swords, beautiful, confirmation from Spirit, Ace of Coins, and the Emperor. Okay, interesting energy. So here with the Knight of Swords, this is really the confirmation of this notion of the different dimensions, the different channels. This is really talking about the string theory. So we have to imagine that the higher dimensions, they are basically like a interconnected web of spirit strings. And all these strings, they are basically vibrating at a specific frequency. And ourselves, us as human beings, we are like the antenna. That's why the Knight of Swords is here holding the sword, holding the magic wand in their hand. And this magic wand, this pillar of light, this is basically the antenna that is picking up on these various strings, on these various channels, these various vibrations. And the vibration that we are tuned into is the vibration that we are experiencing. So when we are tuned into the physical realm, then we are experiencing the physical realm. This is usually the alpha state when we are focused on something like a task. The physical realm, like we're focused on the material. But then when we breathe a little deeper and we meditate, we already enter a deeper state. That's then the beta state, or then if we go even deeper, then that's the theta state, where we are entering basically this trance-like state. And so when we shift the frequency that this antenna is tuned into, then we also shift the realm that we are tuned into. Then we are shifting the vibration that we are picking up. And so Spirit is really coming through with this message of reminding ourselves of our nature as the antenna. And the antenna again is the jet pillar, the Shushumna Nadi, the central channel. if you come from pile number 2, from the realm of the earth, we have been talking about the eye of consciousness, the eye of the jet pillar, the axis mundi, the stem, the brain stem, but also the stem of the tree of life, the tree trunk basically. The tree trunk, our spine, not just the physical spine, but actually the ethereal spine, that's the antenna. And with this antenna, we are able to then tune into the different dimensions, the different realms. And so with the moon, we can tune into the realm of the ocean. This is a very, very deep vibration. Like it's actually the lowest vibration. So this is really talking about the state of deep sleep. This is really talking about the unconscious. This is basically when we are in the state of dreamless sleep. So every night we are entering the state of dreamless sleep in order for our soul to recharge. And then after we have recharged in the state of dreamless sleep, then we might choose to shift the vibration towards the REM state. And usually the REM state is shortly before we wake up. And this is actually where we dream the most. So REM, that is the short version of rapid eye movement. So the state where our eyes are moving rapidly, and this is because we are having the dream experience. And one of the reasons why we are in the REM state shortly before we wake up is so that we can recall our dreams. And this is actually aiding the transition from the dream state into the waking state. And so when we are in this REM state, this dream state, then we are actually seriously traveling to a different dimension, to different planets. And that's why in dreams we can have encounters with star beings, with angels, with light beings, with celestial beings, confirmation from spirit. And actually, I'm noticing that we need to turn on the light. Okay, no, sorry, the candle is finished, forgot what I said. But yes, so basically our spirit guides, our star ancestors, the celestial beings are coming through with this message of understanding dreams, understanding the way of tuning into different vibrations. And when we are able to recall our dreams, when we are able to be lucid in our dreams, or when we are astral traveling and bringing this information back to the earth, then we actually become winged creatures. This actually means that we have learned to navigate the heavens, to navigate the skies. And so when we learn to fly to the heavens, when we learn to astral travel and lucid dreaming, then we are basically getting our wings. Then we become an angel. Then we become a winged creature. Because when we are astral traveling to the higher dimensions, connecting with celestial beings and with the star ancestors and angels, then we actually understand that we are them. Or we understand that this is our past lifetime. We understand that this is my multidimensional version. And if we take this information and integrate it into the earth with the Emperor, then we are basically the masters of the celestial realms. Then we are basically winged creatures or angels here on earth. Okay, sorry, but the amount of interruptions that I had in this reading is crazy. Especially here in pile number 3, so this is definitely part of the message. So basically what I take from this is that there are a lot of forces that don't want us to connect with these higher aspects of our being, with the celestial realms. And this is all these interruptions, like first the storage was full, and then even if I deleted stuff on my computer, it still wouldn't clear up. And then the same happened on my phone, which is really strange because that never happened before. And then also my throat was going, and then I had to start all over again, and it's like crazy. It took me like, I don't know, 3 takes to film this pile. But since the first two piles were so powerful, I really wanted to finish this reading and finish with the third pile, obviously. So what I really take away from this is that there have been forces at play that were trying to prevent humanity from connecting to these higher aspects of our being, to connect to our star ancestors and to connect to the different colors of the rainbow, not only the physical realm, not only everything that's material, but also what is on the other side of the veil. And so with the judgment coming through, right now is the judgment day. Right now is the time where we are letting go of all these forces, all these distortions, all this cloudiness that is veiling our truth, that is hiding our true nature, and we are reactivating it. So there is also this message of DNA activation coming through. And right now I'm actually having a very strong vision. So I'm actually being shown like a pocket. We basically have to visualize a line. So usually if our DNA would be fully active, then it would be like a straight line, like a straight string. But what has happened with humanity is that certain strings, they were basically hidden inside a pocket. So instead of being straight, there is this pocket of information, this pocket of light which is hidden. It is almost hidden within itself. And since this information was hidden, we didn't have access to specific information, to specific remembering our past lifetimes, for example, or remembering the true history of the earth. And there were basically these forces that have been creating these pockets within our DNA in order to hide certain information from us, from the humans. And right now is the time to open up these pockets in order to remember our true nature. And as I say this, the channel is much clearer. As I say this, I feel the energies are already cleared. So I'm being made to feel that this reading is also part of the healing, because you are listening to this message right now. And it's crazy. Like, I almost cannot believe it that this message has actually reached you. Like, it was really like, I really had to fight. I really had to fight for pile number 3. So if you made it here, congratulations, we have made it. We were able to let go of these distracting forces, and now is the time to open up the pockets again. Now is the time to remember our nature again, our true nature. And it is also time to invite in our star ancestors again, so that we remember that part of our being actually exists in higher dimensions. And when we are able to then pierce behind the veil, pierce beyond the veil, then we are able to bring the information and the light from the higher realms down to earth. And this is what we are here to do with the Emperor. I was a bit surprised that we get the Emperor with the celestial realms, because we are talking about the heavens, the sky, the higher dimensions. So I was thinking we would get like a more celestial card, like the star, or like a high vibrational card. But since the reading is finishing with the Emperor, the message is that we actually come from the stars, we come from the higher dimensions, and we are here to basically bring this higher awareness, this light, this information from the higher dimensions, from the stars, here into this earth plane. And this is basically the job, the work that all the light workers are doing, that all the star seeds are doing, like all the spiritual beings are doing. We're basically clearing out all this fogginess, clearing out all these distortions and distractions and all these forces which have been hiding these pockets within our DNA. So this is really also talking about like these quote-unquote negative extraterrestrial forces that have been tampering with the genes of humanity, that have been creating these pockets of information to hide certain things from us. But again, right now is the judgment day. Right now with the Ace of Coins, it's this new beginning. It's a new beginning for humanity, a new beginning for the earth, and actually a new beginning for the entire cosmos. Because when humanity remembers, when we as humanity, when we remember our cosmic origins, when we remember the presence of these celestial beings, of these light beings, then we are healing the entire universe, because then we are basically harmonizing the whole web of creation. And that's why the healing here on earth is so important. That's why this time here on earth is so critical. Like what we are healing with this DNA activation and the clearing out of these distortions, this goes so much deeper than our human mind is able to comprehend. Because again, it is really this notion of the strings, the quantum realm, like everything that happens here also has an effect over there. So the quantum theory, the string theory, is basically this theory that if I make a sound here or if I move something here, then it has an influence over there. Because again, everything is connected with these strings, with this spirit web. And right now, we are remembering the nature of this spirit web. We are remembering the interconnectedness of all of creation. And the basis of that, the first step to do that, is actually understanding what the tree of life is, understanding what the three main realms of creation are: the physical realm, the material realm, the conscious state of being, the presence, but also the past, the underworld, the ocean, and the future, the sky, the realm of the stars. And understanding that these three realms, they come together as one. Everything is interwoven, past, present, and future. Sky, earth, and the ocean, they are all connected into one. And right now is this remembering of the oneness with the Ace of Coins, this reawakening of humanity. Beautiful star, this was your message for today. I will finish the reading here because God knows what's gonna happen next. So thanks so much for being part of this awakening. Thanks so much for being part of this healing. Not only healing humanity, but healing the entire universe at large. Thanks for making your beautiful contribution with your presence and your light. I really hope you resonated with the messages. Please let me know if you did. And I'm also offering personal readings and healing sessions. Definitely don't hesitate to reach out, because I would be very happy to be your guide. So thanks so much for tuning in again. I'm sending you all of my love, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.